Hey guys, we are live. It's Ted Bogard with the Ted Show. I'm super excited to have the one and only Linda Levesque. No? Did I do it right,
Levesque.
Linda? Okay.
Levesque.
Levesque, I did it right. So the one and only
You
Linda
did.
Levesque, we're going to have her on. We're going to talk about tapping. If you don't know what tapping is, you're going to find out today. We're going to learn about what an energy practitioner does. And then, of course, we're just going to learn about how to do some cool natural things that can improve our lives, and tapping's one of them. So welcome to the show, Linda.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
I'm excited to have you. Great energy. Carol Ann Flesh, big shout out to her for introducing us. So thank you, Carol Ann. All right, so we all love origin story on the show. So give us a little background on you. I don't think you probably had an energy practitioner Barbie back in the day. So you there. I would love to hear your journey on how you became one, and so would the audience.
Okay, so this is my last career. I was living up in New Hampshire 19 years ago, and I met this. I was in the food industry business. That's what I did for 20 years. I was a server. I was an assistant manager. I raised my family up in New Hampshire. And I met this woman who did Reiki and she loved crystals. And she gave me a session because it was a stressful time for me at that time. I was going through a divorce. And she did a session and I fell in love with it. So she started to teach me how to do it. And I then moved to Florida and I just started doing it. I became a Yasui Reiki level 1, 2, and 3. And I started volunteering for hospice. I was using Reiki and getting good results. I was going into hospitals to do Reiki and people's homes that were getting ready to pass on. And I was getting a lot of great feedback. They slept better, their blood pressure was lowered, their pain was reduced. And so I started looking in what I could do, and seeing as I was much older, uh, becoming a nurse or a priest or, a doctor was not an option. So massage therapy, I could do it in a year. So I went back to school and became a massage therapist, and I've been doing it for 12 years.
Amazing. So tell me, I love Reiki. I
Uh-huh.
think we've had one or two guests come on and talk about it. But for those who didn't see those shows, you mentioned it several times, and then of course I want to talk about tapping because it's
Yeah.
separate. But
Yes, it is.
Reiki, tell them what that is.
Well, Reiki is you just learn, the practitioner learns how to open up her chakras. Reiki really works with the chakras in the body, the energy body. And so what that does is I open myself up. And Ray, the first part of the word Ray, means universal energy, and Chi, the Reiki, is the Chi energy. So I combine my energy with the universal energy, and it pretty much it's like raising a vibration, and we shake that energy that's locked, stuck somewhere in someone's body, and we kind of shake it loose so that the balance returns for that person's body.
Carol Ann says I call Linda my oil can. She keeps my
She
body
does.
moving and increases my energy. Why is it important to pay attention to the energy slash vibration? I think people hear that and go, okay, I don't know what all that means, but it can't have really an impact on my health and on my life. But I know you beg to differ.
I do. And a good example is in between 2000 and 2006 and 2008. I was working at a spa, and people were coming in and they were having chronic back pain. And um, I would say to them, I would start working on them. And of course, the Reiki already comes through into the massage because I'm touching them. And I would say to them, so what's going on with your family and your finances? And they'd look at me and they'd say, well, I just lost my job. I don't know how I'm going to take care of my family. I don't have a job and there's no jobs out there. So, the stuff that happens in our life, our body is like a sponge, and all our experiences and all our emotions get sucked into our body, and they kind of gravitate. And lower back is the root chakra, and that's always about finances, money, family. So if someone dies, you'll have lower back pain. I mean, it can be caused by other things, but during that time, almost everybody that came in had a job situation. They just lost their job or
Right.
something like that.
What about vibration? Tell me about that. And then I want to take a big deep dive into tapping, because I think vibration can be confusing for someone, because you all talk about I believe it's levels, or explain to us vibration.
So, everything is energy, our thoughts of energy. Think about when you are worried or you're anxious. It makes you exhausted at the end of the day. Your thinking is off. And that's energy, because there's too much. We have both energies. We have female energy and male energy. And when we're in too much of one of them, it causes an imbalance in our body. And so it can cause anything from headaches to indigestion to not sleeping. Even our food is energy. If we don't put good food in our body, we're not going to have good energy. We're going to feel lethargic. So everything around us is really energy. And science teaches you that everything is made up of atoms. So there's energy everywhere. Everything is energy.
Agreed. All right, let's talk about tapping. Everyone's saying hi, by the way. Mary Sawyer, hey, Carrie, hey, GP, what's up, guys? Oh, Dallas. They're all sending you love. Amy up at the top also.
Very
Tapping.
cool.
So I had a
So
couple people when I did the post say, "What are you talking about, Ted?" I think it's those of us who know, and those of us who don't have no idea what in the world tapping could be. So give them your big expertise.
Okay, so tapping is a combination of a couple modalities. One of them, the first one is ancient Chinese acupressure. And what you do is um, you take your two fingers off your opposite hands and you just tap on a meridian. So that's your energy body. You're tapping on your meridians, and we have different meridians that we use in the tapping. And then the other part is modern psychology. So you're tapping and you're talking through that particular emotion or that particular event that just happened that stressed you, like COVID. Everybody was worried, they were anxious, they were, uncertain. There was a lot of uncertainty. So the tapping would go something like this: even though I have all this uncertainty and this anxiety, I completely and deeply accept how I feel right now at this moment. And you would go through that a couple of times, and then you would go to the other tapping points. The eyebrow point is, I'll take my glasses off. One of the other tapping points is the eyebrows. Even though I feel anxious, and then you go to the side of the eye, and all this uncertainty under the eye. I don't know what's going to happen. And you always focus on the negative. You always begin with the negative and what's going on right now and all this uncertainty. And I've lost my job. Under the chin, I don't know what I'm going to do. On the collarbone, I'm so full of fear right now. Under the armpits, I have so much worry. And then you come back to the top of the head. That's an anchoring for the tapping that you did. But I know that I can make a choice, and everything right here and right now is fine. And you go through a series of that by talking through it. And what that does is it does a lot of different things. So when you're in worry and anxiety, three things happen physically. First thing is your cortisol levels shoot straight up. And in my line of business, cortisol is equivalent to inflammation, and inflammation equals that to at some point you're going to have an illness in your body somewhere. The third thing that happens is the frontal lobe of the brain shuts down when you're in that the sympathetic system, which is your fright, your flight, and your freeze. It means you're stuck in those emotions or in that situation, and that affects your decision making. It helps you not make good choices. And then the other thing that happens is your breathing. So your breathing is really important here because your breathing is the core feedback loop to your central nervous system. That is the switch that can move you from the fright, flight, and freeze into the I'm okay, everything is going to work out, I will figure this out. And that's the parasympathetic system. So that's what the tapping does. And that's on a physical level. And on an energy bottle level, when you're tapping on those meridian points, it's going through your body and you're affecting your chakras, and your chakras are all attached to organs, glands, and organ systems. And then the other thing that happens is you're calming the brain down. You're calming this frontal lobe down. And so what happens with that is you have two organs in the middle of your brain. One is the limbic system, and that is where every memory and every emotion that you have experienced is there. That's like your memory box. The other thing is the hypothalamus. So what that is responsible for is for your serotonin. So when you're under a lot of stress and a lot of cortisol and you're worried and you're anxious, you're not producing a lot of serotonin. So when you're tapping, it helps rebalance that. So it moves you from the sympathetic system into the parasympathetic system, and it just balances you everywhere. It's one of the only modalities, and I do a lot. I do essential oils, I do massage, I do Reiki, I do crystals, and this is the only one that addresses all three. The only other one that does that is Reiki. It does all the levels, and the energy goes where it needs to, and the tapping kind of directs that.
How does so many questions, and hello everyone again. You're getting a lot of love. I think I told you that. Lots of comments.
Good.
How does someone start? Like it felt to me as I was watching you that you had some sort of rhythm going on, and you started on one particular area. I don't know if that was just to show us, but how does if somebody says, "All right, Linda, I want to give it a try," how do they start?
So a good script to always start is even though I feel or I am whatever and then whatever. So even though I'm feeling anxious, I completely and deeply love and accept myself and how I feel. You're addressing what's going on in the present. And you always start with the hand. It's called the karate point. And that is small intestines, I'm sorry. And that relieves feelings of being stuck. Each point has a specific reason and a specific job. The next point would be the eyebrow point, which is right here on the bridge of your nose. And that one is the bladder point, and that relieves hurt and sadness. Then you would go to the outside of the eye, and that's the gallbladder point, and that relieves resentment and anger. The next point is you would go under your eye, and it doesn't matter whether you do both eyes. I do it in the car, and when I'm driving, I just do one side. So when you go under the eye, it's the stomach meridian, and that relieves fear and anxiety. The next meridian would be the governing vessel. And this is a major meridian in everybody's body. And this relieves powerlessness and shame. Then you would go to the chin point, and that's the conception vessel. And that relieves uncertainty, confusion. And then you go to the collarbone, and it's just below, I don't know if you can see this, I want to come down. It's just below your collarbone, and it's this soft spot on both sides. And then that is the kidney point, and that is for helping us to make that switch, because the heart chakra is here also. And that really deals with worry and decision, and it helps you flip that switch that maybe I could move forward. Under the arms, you just do this. Let me just see if I can bring this down a little bit more. Just under the arms, like kind of like a monkey, would do. You see in those comics. And that's the spleen point. And that relieves guilt, worry, and loop thinking, or when you have a problem, you keep thinking over and over and over again about trying to figure. It's your brain's way to keep you safe. That if you can just figure this out, you'll be all right. And then the last point is the top of the head, and that's the crown chakra. And what that does is it anchors this whole process that you've gone through, and it just kind of anchors and brings everything together, and it anchors you. And for me, what it does, it makes me, when I'm in worry and anxiety, I'm up here in my head. I'm
Yeah.
not in my body. And so this anchors me back into my body, and I can kind of, so then that triggers the deep breathing, and it triggers that switch, that core feedback loop that will help you go from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Now, sometimes when you're doing this, you will feel worse. That just means there's more stuff coming up. And what you need to do is stop for a minute and kind of feel where it is, see if it moved in your body and where it's gone. I had a lady that I was teaching a class to a group of realtors, and she took her blood pressure at the beginning, and she had trouble with her systolic, and she was doing a lot of life changing things on top of that, her diet and exercise and eating and stuff. And in the 10-minute tapping, her number went from 115 to 110. That was just 10 minutes of tapping.
Wow.
So it greatly affects the body.
And what is there a time frame? Is there should you go through everything that you showed us, or should you, if you know of something and you do the research and you go, well, I want to focus on a particular area, should you tap longer on that particular area?
No, there is no protocol. I do it intuitively, so I read the person's body. But this is what I would do. I would assess, like, on a scale from 1 to 10 before I start. That's usually what I do when I'm doing a session with people. So whatever you're feeling, okay, anxiety on a level from 1 to 10, being 1 being none or feeling peaceful, and 10 being, yeah, my anxiety level is, I'm having an anxiety attack.
Right.
And assess that, and then go through a tapping. And when you do a round, you should always begin with the negative. So you should probably do 2 rounds. So the first round, completely starting with the karate point and coming all the way back to the top of your head, should be all the negative aspects. And at that point, you can turn the positive aspects. Like when I'm doing anxiety, for positive, I'll say, I am safe. Everything is fine. I don't have anything to worry about. It's whatever you're feeling. And
Right.
sometimes if you don't have words, just say, I'm feeling it in my body. This is where it is. And it's starting to release. There's no right and wrong. There are some tappings that I do that I don't even say words, but I just let the process of what's going through my mind, especially if it's loop thinking, I just let that play out, and I just keep going through the points. There's no wrong way or right way to do this.
So I have to give Carrie Bailey said, Linda led me through tapping for grief. I got to release much needed tears, and I felt great after. It was the first time I slept in months. And I think that's a testament to it. I've
Yeah.
seen it, I've done it, and I know that it works. It's a personal thing. I can tell you it works for me. What about breathing, Linda? You mentioned
So,
breathing a
so
lot, and breathing seems
yeah.
to be like this big topic. There's now thousands of books out about it, and so talk to us a little bit about breathing and why it is important.
It's funny. My first blog during COVID was about deep breathing. So what happens with our deep breathing, as I said, deep breathing, our breath is the core feedback loop to our central nervous system and our immune system. So when you're anxious, you're breathing from your chest here. You're breathing from here, and you're taking shallow breaths. But when you're relaxed, you can feel your abdomen, you're breathing from your belly button. And when I'm relaxed, my belly button, when I'm breathing, is elevating and then going down and coming up and coming down. Now, there's an important part because right behind your diaphragm is the vagus nerve. That is a huge nerve for your central nervous system. So when you're taking deep breaths, you're hitting that vagus nerve and you're signaling it that it needs to relax. So when you're breathing deeply, you're keeping your central nervous system relaxed. And I will tell you, one of the big things with this COVID deal was immune systems. And stress is a big factor in keeping your immune system. And tapping does a lot. It kept my immune system boosted. It helped me be able to think clearly and make good decisions. And I was breathing, and there were times that I didn't even realize. Sometimes you don't realize, even rushing through your day, you don't realize that your breathing is shallow. And
Yeah.
you have to understand your brain and your major organs are not getting enough oxygen and they need all that stuff. And to be honest, as a massage therapist, the last organ that will get any oxygen will be your muscles. So you're talking tightness around the neck if you're breathing shallow. You're not going to have a lot of movement. So breathing is very, very important.
I never thought of that. Of course, the whole body, all the organs, the muscles, they need it. No wonder. Okay.
Yes.
It's funny, as you were saying that, I was realizing I was taking very shallow breaths. Uh,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
cognizant of the difference, though. Like when I do sit down and I'm very focused and I focus on my breathing, even for a little bit, you can feel your body relaxing. It's a
Yep.
natural thing, and people don't do it enough. You have lots of love on here, so I promise Linda and I will respond to all of you when we're finished. Anything you want to leave them with, Linda, before we head out? I think the information you provided was awesome.
Thank you. I think that during this COVID thing, one of the biggest things that I learned, because I'm one of those people that like to work, was self care and self love. You're only going to get this body once. And you need to take care of it and take the time. You need to eat properly. You need to get enough sleep. You need to during this COVID thing, I was tapping, I was doing Reiki every day. I had my crystals in my pocket. I was exercising and I was eating well because I had the time to cook. So I think the biggest thing I learned was self care and self love. If you can do that, I think that will help. That helps me keep my stress level, which means I will stay healthy.
Into that. All right. So, what's the best way if somebody wants a Reiki session, a tapping lesson, a massage, or just to be in your presence and get some of that healing love and energy you give out? What's the best way for them to reach you?
The best way to reach me is to send. I believe you've got. You can either go on my website or you can go on NATURALUTIONS 775. I have to do .com, and that's my website. Or my business phone number is 321-312-0575. And even if I'm not in the office, it comes to my cell phone. You can text me, you can call and leave a message. And that, and you can do combos. I had a person this morning that did half massage and half tapping. Saturday, I had a client, she did an hour of massage and a half hour of Reiki. So you can get whatever you want. I have a pretty flexible schedule.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that. I feel a little relaxed, a little more relaxed.
Good.
So,
Good. Thank
thanks,
you.
Linda, so much for all you do. All right, guys, we'll be back
Thank
later.
you.
Reach out to Linda. We'll see you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. We love you. Mwah.